We hear the Christmas story every year. There's Mary and Joseph in a manger and angels and shepherds, and it's all so familiar. But maybe it's a little too familiar. You see, somewhere along the way, this story that changed the world starts to feel routine, almost like background noise for the whole season. We know the details, but we rarely stop to feel the weight of what actually happened. And if we're honest, most of us never slow down long enough to ask the question beneath all these traditions. Why did Jesus come to earth in the first place? What was God really doing in that moment? What was so important that he stepped into our world in the most fragile way possible? And here's the truth. The Christmas story is not cute, it's not sentimental, it's not some spiritual Hallmark movie. It is the story of a God who refuses to stay distant from the people he loves. A God who steps into our story because he knows we cannot reach him on our own. And that's the part we tend to forget. And when we forget it, we miss the entire point of Christmas. So let's slow down for a moment. Let's set aside the routine and let's look at the question that sits at the heart of this whole story. Why did Jesus come to Earth? On April 12th, 1961, Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human to travel into space and orbit the Earth. It was a massive moment in history. But what caught the world's attention even more were when reports that he looked out the window and said, "I don't see any God up here." It became the symbol of modern skepticism, as if God could be discovered the same way that you find like a misplaced satellite or a new planet. And in response, C.S. Lewis wrote this short piece called The Seeing Eye. And in it, he says this: "If there is a God that created us, we could not discover him by going up into the air. God does not relate to us a way a man on the second floor would relate to a man on the first floor. He would relate to us the way Shakespeare relates to Hamlet. Shakespeare is the creator of Hamlet's world and of Hamlet himself. Hamlet cannot know about Shakespeare only if the author reveals information about himself in the play. So too, the only way to know about God is if God has revealed himself." This is the heart of Christmas. God writes himself into the story, but he does not enter as a king or as a warrior or a distant, untouchable deity. He steps into human history as an infant, the most fragile, dependent, vulnerable way possible. He comes in a way we can understand, so we never have to wonder if he understands us. Or as Dietrich Bonhoeffer says, only a suffering God can help. That is what the incarnation reveals. The creator of the universe does not stay detached from her world. No, he walks into it. He feels hungry. He feels exhaustion. He embraces grief and loss. He knows the weight of temptation, the sting of betrayal, the pain of suffering. He's not far from the human experience. He enters it fully. And this is where the name Emmanuel becomes so important. Isaiah 7:14 said that the coming Messiah would be called Emmanuel, which literally means God with us. And for centuries, God's presence had been experienced in limited ways: a cloud, a pillar of fire, the Holy of Holies. But the idea that God would take on flesh and live among his people was beyond anything anybody could imagine. And I love how Eugene Peterson paraphrases John 1:14 in the Message. He says, "The Word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood." That is what Emmanuel means. God did not wait for us to climb our way up to him. He came down to us. He moved into the mess of our world. He stepped into our story so we could see his heart. And the answer to the question becomes clear. Why did Jesus come to earth? Because God refused to stay distant. Because God wanted to be known by his people. Because he wanted to walk with us, not shout instructions from far away. Because he loves us enough to enter into our humanity so we could know his divinity. This is the kind of God that Christmas reveals, a God who comes close to us. So, if all of this is true, then the Christmas story is not just something that happened 2,000 years ago. It is something that speaks directly into the way we are living today. God entered our story And it's not just this theological idea, it's actually an invitation. It shows us what God is like, and it shows us how we should respond. So I want to end by giving you a few ways you can apply this to your life this season. The first way is this: remember God's desire for you. The very first thing we have to do is remember his desire for us. Many people carry this quiet suspicion that God is disappointed with them or waiting for them to fall. We picture him as this strict, distant God who gets frustrated by us. But that is not the picture Christmas paints. The creator of the universe came as a baby. He stepped into skin and bones, and he walked the roads filled with dirt and sweat. He lived in the same kind of world we live in. And he didn't enter to condemn us. He entered to be with us and to rescue us, to bring us home. That means he wants a relationship with us, not based on performance or a perfect record, not a checklist of spiritual achievements. He wants a relationship with us. He came close so that we could come close to him. He walked in our shoes so we would never have to wonder if he understands what we're feeling. And if God stepped towards us like that, why would we hesitate to step towards him? Why would we hide? Why would we carry our worries alone? He is Emmanuel. God is with us. God is with you. Let that sink in. And the second way we can apply this truth to our lives is by doing the same for others. If God has entered into our story, then we're called to enter into the stories of others. Jesus didn't avoid messy people. He didn't stay away from those who are suffering or those who inconvenienced him. He didn't stay away from pain itself. He stepped into it. And now he's inviting us to do the same. And there are people around you right now who feel unseen. People around you right now who are carrying heavy burdens. People who are sitting in grief, anxiety, fear, loneliness, and shame. And you don't have to fix all their problems. You don't need all the right answers. What they need most is your presence. Someone who will show up and stay. Somebody who will pray for them. Somebody who will point them to the God who loves them. And this is what love looks like. It can be inconvenient. It can be uncomfortable. Sometimes it can even be costly. But it's the most Christ-like thing you can offer somebody. Because this is what God has done for you. He moved into your neighborhood so you can move towards the people in yours. And when we remember that God desires us and he chose to embody his presence for others, the Christmas story stops being a seasonal tradition and it becomes the way we live. It becomes the story we participate in every day. So why did Jesus come to earth? He came because he loves us. He loves his people, and he didn't want to leave us on our own. The Christmas story is not a distant event. It's the opening scene of a God who moves towards us, a God who enters into our pain, a God who writes himself into our stories so that we can come to know him. And my hope for you this Christmas is that you don't rush past that, but you slow down long enough to remember whose you are, that you are wanted, you are pursued, you are seen by God who is drawing close to you. And then take what you have received, give it away. Step towards somebody else. Show up in their story the way that God has shown up in yours. And if this encouraged you, if this helped you, if this gave you something new to think about, would you do me a favor? Hit that like button down below and leave a comment so that more people can find this video. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you can stay up to date on future videos that are coming out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.